is up, everybody? My name is Dane Thompson, and welcome back to another episode of BurnDown. So in today's episode, we are back on the Maliboom. I slacked off a little bit this week. I tried to get some work done after hours, but I went on a road trip. So I've been gone for the past 2 days. Got home yesterday afternoon. So the car is still as it sits from the last video. Basically just set the fenders on, kind of set the hood on, and went, ooh, wow, that looks good. And then that's been sitting there ever since beginning of last week. So today the goal is to mount the fenders, and that's where I'm leaving the goal, to try to make it achievable so I can feel good about myself. Usually it's like, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this, and I get through maybe one thing on the list or two things, and then I'm bummed because I didn't do all the stuff I wanted to. So we're mounting fenders, and if we get through that, what I'd like to do is cut the hood up a little bit, try to lighten it, and we can weigh that. That'll be fun to see how much weight we can actually cut out of that hood. So without further ado, let me throw my easy up. It's supposed to be easy up. Easy up. It's supposed to be pretty warm today. Throw that up, kind of push it out there, maybe make a little workbench out here. And then the main thing is we're gonna have to weld some sort of bolts or something on the bottom to capture the bottom of the fender. But I think that's gonna be the last attachment point I want to mess with. I want to get the rear corner first. It's basically should just drill a hole and pop a bolt in, get the front kind of where it goes, and the bottom will be last, which will entail some little bit of welding and fab stuff. Shouldn't be terrible, but if we can get those all done and mounted up, we'll be looking pretty good. So let's get rolling. All right, this is where we left off last time, and this is why the hood wasn't seated flush. It's because we just basically clipped these things on. So let's, we can just leave that clipped on, I guess, so it doesn't fall off for whatever reason. So I think what I'll do is we'll start with this hole. So this should be like a good pivot point. There's a bolt in there. Let me get the hardware for it. We'll clean it up, make sure it runs in and out. And then I think that'll be our starting point, so we can keep this corner and everything up where it should be, somewhere like so. And then we'll lock that down, or at least get it tight, and that should hold it. And then I'd like to do the front. And then this will be determined kind of by the hood space. So we'll get that locked in. I can open this up big enough, we can kind of probably just guess and get it locked in place there and there. And then we're gonna have to test fit the hood a few times. Should be fun. I can't wait. Good old body work. Look at this poor thing. Poor car. Somebody was wondering too about cleaning up the engine bay and painting. I'm not doing any of that. Although I did find this, which is pretty fun. So that thing is finger tight. I think I tightened it a little bit, but we'll tighten that bolt up. That's about maybe that. We'll check all these guys. That's about the gist of it though. We're not cleaning any of this stuff up. I literally want to just put it back together so we can put the engine back in, squirt paint on it, and go back to trying to race this thing. So there's a Sunday fun day tomorrow that we're not going to go to. Reed's differential. He wants to put a spool in because he thinks the posi unit is causing his car to do one of these. And then I think Jeff finally figured out his overheating issue. I was making fun of him because he was messing with his coolant system, and Reed's like, oh, you know, do this, do that. Well, I think he wired his fans backwards, so they were pushing and not pulling air. So hopefully it was as simple as that, and then he should be ready to rock and roll for the next event or dyno or whatever he is going to do. So we're getting there. It's coming together, but I feel like I'm the last man standing, that I'll be the last one to get back on the track and back on the road, but that's okay. At least we'll look a little bit different. It'll be cool, and hopefully we can hammer on that 60 foot and turn the 6 liter up to like 15-20 pounds and hopefully boogie. So let's get rolling. I was hanging on this while I was talking just now, and noticed it's got a little bit of play. I think this one, that one's tightened up. Yeah, this has some stacks in it too, huh? And that has 0, so they obviously wiggled out of there. So we'll have to tighten that up as well. Look at that, even holds this, which is part of my support for my what's it called? Anyway, yeah, we got some stuff to work on and tighten down, so let me get rolling. Okay, so I've got one bolt mounted. As you can see, it's really low, and it's because it takes shims. So I have the shims that were taken off this thing here, but I'm more worried about location than it lining up here. That's just a height for that, but at least this is captured, and now we can mess with the front. So I'll just have to get an idea where these go, and then I'm going to drill them a little big. I don't want them really oversized because I don't want to weaken the material too much. So I'm going to try my best guess as to where this would land. I might even kind of clamp it and test fit the hood like we did. That way I know it's close and then I can mark it from the bottom. And I'll just punch one hole to start with, and then the next one we can make pretty dead on because there's not a lot of material, I'm hoping. So we'll do that. If I can get these two slammed home, we can line that one up, and then all we gotta do is our friend on the bottom. Okay, it's race car. I think that's good enough. We can obviously adjust this like a little, come forward. There's a gap back here. It's kind of uniform for the most part. This hood, you know, nothing's perfect. It's fiberglass, so it's a pretty decent gap. A little tighter here, but we could probably split that difference. There's something like so. Okay. So I'm kind of happy with that placement. We'll just make the hole a little bit big, but again, I don't want to take too much meat off of it. So see if we can't get these buttoned down, and if we can, maybe we'll shim the back and kind of get this where it goes. I won't worry about the bottom. We'll just do that last, because I think I'm gonna have to trim for the door edge. But if we get this one locked in tops on the top bolts, we'll come over and try to do the same with this, and then we'll really be styling. Ta-da! All right, these dudes are both in, kind of just tentatively snugged. And we brought this up. I had some, I don't even know what these are from, but these are real thick. So I thought I might have to stick one of these dudes under this fender to bring it up to height, but this seems to work. I'm happy with it, so at least I got one for this side, one for that side, as long as they're similar. And that brings us up here, and then obviously when we push the bottom up, that'll get all that stuff a lot closer. But yeah, the fit on that is nice. I'm cool with that. So I think what we'll do now is same thing for this side. I'll kind of clip this on, although you can see got a little bit of an issue. This thing is folded down. It's probably not good. We'll see, I guess, if it flexes. If it breaks, we'll have to do something about it. But yeah, you can see where this one's mounted. So hopefully this is just some excess on the chingadera, because it almost looks obviously wider than what this is. So I'm hoping that's just some crap they forgot to trim off, is what I'm hoping for. So maybe we'll kind of get a measurement on that, and then kind of trim this guy here, so that way it'll sit flush and we don't, if it breaks, I hope it doesn't, you know, break over here. So let me do that. Let me trim off this little flap thing that's hanging down and holding it up, and then we'll clamp it down, do the same thing. I'll bring you back when I kind of get that started. Actually, at this point, you know what we'll do? Let me mess with it. When this one is the same as that, I'll bring you back when we're doing the bottoms, because if, you know, you don't need to see the whole process. You guys get it. Well, there you have it. So these fenders are mounted in 3 points here, up in here, and there's 2 mounting points here. So both of those are mounted on the top. The hood fits in place. Again, the gaps are pretty big because it's race car stuff. So we're, you know, and they're different. You know, that one's big and this one's small, but for what it is, and for going fast, I think it's perfectly acceptable. And then like the bumper is touching here, not over there. So we'll have to shimmy and wiggle some stuff around. This bumper is gonna have to get rethunk, if you will. I don't want to do fiberglass. Somebody asked me that, because I'd have to cut it up, because we're just gonna run the intercooler that I have for now. And then somebody else was like, hey, an intercooler is easy to figure out. Well, I'd like a large enough one to make some power. Reed has the one, it's like $100, and I know it'll probably fit behind my grill for the most part. I can measure his and see, but the one I have is much better than what he's running, so I'd rather just throw that on for now and run that. and that'll fill in the kind of the cutout. And what I was thinking, not to get too ahead of myself, where the intercooler comes and hangs down because it's lower than the bumper, I might make little lip pieces down here for like a little spoiler so it matches the intercooler, but we'll see. I don't know, that's down the road. Anyway, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna get underneath and find the attachment point here, which I think will work best for what the car has on the body to attach to, and we will make kind of a tentative hole, I guess. You know, we'll just mark this, and then I'll get a nut and bolt welded to the bottom of each side, one here and the one on this side. And then what we'll have to do, I'll show you guys, is when this is in place and you kind of push it where it wants to be, see the gap, how it's like touching, and then it gets big and then it's rubbing up here. So once I bolt this down, I'll come back and mark it, and then we'll cut it so it's nice, and then the door opens. That's the main thing. This fender doesn't seem to fit quite as nice. Like, it's back a bit here, and same thing like when I push this up, we've already got a pretty large gap, so I just have to pretty much hog this out to line up with that gap, and then the door should open because the door swings kind of in. So pretty much from here up, we'll just match the gap on this side. So we'll start with this one. This is a passenger one. But yeah, the gap's gonna be pretty big, but I'm okay. Again, this is race car stuff. So we figure out how to mount and attach the bottom here, and then we'll do it on the other side. That's it, we should be good to go. So let me mess with that, and I'll bring you guys back. It's been a little bit. We've got our little bolts and nuts welded. So it's just a nut, and I just kind of welded it around a little bit. And this is the bolt that goes in with the washer. And obviously we've got a hole in the fender. So what I'm doing now is fixing the shape of this, because this keeps wanting to push the fender out. So we're going to shave it down a little bit so it fits against here nice. That way the bottom goes in nice. And then we'll have to do something similar with the top, just to get it to fit on there. And then I'll just draw a line for the gap so the door can open, because as of right now the door gets into this and it won't open. So this gap is probably going to be pretty good size just to give room for the door, but we will see. Figure I'll share this with you guys. Maybe somebody's trying to do this and they're like, well, how would I get the gap kind of even? So what I did, this is the biggest gap, right? So there's no material there, and I'm not going to add any material. We're just going to take it away to make that match. So I just put a piece of tape all the way down, then you can see where it gets real tight, and I just eyeballed the distance from here to here, so you can see my tape line and the door line is roughly the same distance as that. Again, you could measure this off. I mean, you could do a lot of different things, but I'm just going to do that, bring it down, and then I'm going to taper it back to this space here, and then same thing with up here. We'll kind of taper it in so it lines up with that. So at least it'll be uniform. I don't think it'll be pretty, but as long as it's uniform. There you have it. It's a bit more uniform. Gets skinnier at the bottom, and then obviously at the top. Doesn't touch or rub. Very close, but it's all right. That's race car. So I'm good with that. This was the worst side. I'll jump over, do the passenger side, and then that is a wrap for this. Now I just have to figure out how to slim the hood down, Zeus it on the front end, and then when all that is complete, we'll start knocking down the chunky stuff and scuffing this thing up and getting it ready to spray some satin blue paint on it. So until next time, you guys know what to do. Like, subscribe, share. I am out.